All right, so I am pulling out of the road right now, or onto the road in the driveway. It's midday on the weekend, so you can probably guess that I'm not driving to the gym to coach. And if you did, you're right. And maybe you didn't know that or care either way. But yeah, I did take class this morning. It's the weekend. Took a little Saturday morning class. Our earliest class is 8 on Saturdays. So sometimes we run like a specialty class at Mafia at 7 a.m. on the weekends, usually some sort of running thing. I think they just wrapped up like a 12-week endurance, quote-unquote, running class. And so today class started at 8, and the workout was 5 rounds for time, 12 burpees, 6 ring muscle-ups, and then a 400-meter run. It was a nice compliment to the week, and it was a cool compliment coming off of yesterday's workout, which had a lot of kettlebell swings, a lot of rowing, and a lot of sit-ups. And first thing I want to chat about is sort of thinking about programming weeks together, and it's probably is owed a larger podcast, but I don't know, I just thought this was like a really good example of something I think about when I put together a week, which is, how can you kind of challenge athletes in new ways day to day? Like, it's not just about, hey, let's do variance in a way so we're doing something different we did the day before or after it, or we'll do after it. And one of the things was, I thought would be really interesting is the fatigue created by the grip and the pull that was required yesterday for the kettlebell swings in the row, and especially the sit-ups. How would that carry over and challenge people today with the muscle-ups, or if they're scaling muscle-ups to pull-ups? As anyone knows, I think one of the best combinations in a workout, or even back-to-back workouts, is having a lot of flexion in the midsection, driven with some sort of kip, or kipping pull-up, or kipping bar muscle-up, or ring muscle-up. It's a special combo. You really start to realize how much your midsection, and you use your abs in so many movements, even if something seems like, oh, this is primarily hip driven or something like that. So it was cool to see that. It was cool to experience that. This is a really hard workout for a Saturday. It's been a pretty challenging week. We did a lot of single modality stuff this week. Heavy day. We had a 30-minute max distance weighted carry. And maybe this one will kind of be like Saturday grab bag. So that's first thing is, when you plan out a week, I do think there's a lot of value in looking at how the week comes together. Like what are the elements day to day that will challenge the athletes? What are the elements and how do they react with other days, where you will help athletes kind of develop and get better in ways that they don't always normally have a chance to? I think one of the most common pitfalls we can get sucked into as programmers is trying to have the perfect workout on a single day. And on the flip side of that, I think one of the pitfalls we fall into is not thinking about what is it like as an athlete to go through the entire week. How you're going to be feeling on a Wednesday and a Saturday and those kinds of things. And how do the workouts play off with one another? Our athletes going to be feeling like their hands are smashed. They're tired from having like a barbell on their collarbone in the front rack position. These are small things. They probably don't outweigh the importance, if you're a new programmer, getting right the elements of variance and setting up workouts to allow athletes to achieve intensity, making sure we program in heavy days, developing strength, and we're not dodging certain movements. But I think the longer you program, these are things you 100% should take into consideration. And this is why, though I don't think everyone programming for a gym needs to do every single workout, I do think it's really important to do some, and to at least, have done something like what you program for your athletes on a single day. I think if you're a programmer and you find yourself saying like, oh, I've never done anything like this before, it'll be really good for the athletes to do, and you've never done anything like that, I think you kind of have a little responsibility, especially if you want to be a good, effective programmer, to test that stuff out yourself. Since I've been programming for the gym, I've been using that as an excuse to be a little more consistent, and I've been doing every single workout, which has actually led me to feel pretty beat up, because I've also been usually doing some sort of extra workout with Cass on the weekends, some sort of partner thing or whatever. But it's also been really good because, it's helped me walk back weeks that I've programmed for my athletes when I feel particularly devastated. I'll kind of switch some things up, and I think that's all really valuable. So 2 things to think about as a coach. If you're throwing stuff together that you've never done before and haven't tested it, I don't know, kind of a bozo move. Similarly, if you're programming a workout and not thinking about it or looking at it in the respect of everything else, also kind of a silly thing. But what I really wanted to talk about today was, looking at this workout, 5 rounds, 12 burpees, 6 ring muscle ups, 400-meter run, which, as Cassandra told me today, she was like, one of the first times in a long time I was excited to go back to a burpee because, one, I think the totality of the week left the legs feeling slow. We did a heavy deadlift day. We had that 30-minute max distance weighted carry. Like, my legs just felt heavy and slow too. Ring muscle ups felt pretty good, which was nice. But, when you look at a workout like this, I think we set the time domain at, hey, everyone done in the 15 to 20 minute range. And I finished right around, I think, 17 minutes and change, which I was happy with on the movements. Like I said, my runs were just pathetically slow. They felt like garbage today, but everything else was unbroken. And the transitions between them were pretty quick. So I think 15 to 20 is right. We had a couple athletes, I think maybe 1 or 2 other athletes, do it RX, and they finished just under 20 or right at 20. So I was pretty happy with that. We had a lot of athletes scale down, do a chest to bar pull-up, some variation of a pull-up. I saw all kinds of stuff, ring muscle-up transitions from the floor, jumping ring muscle-ups. We have the ability to do that, which I really like in the gym. Now, one of the things about this workout that I want to talk about was, kind of scaling and getting it right. And I think there is a couple elements to this. This workout is a little bit longer just by virtue of the total volume of the stuff. What we want to avoid in a workout like this is it shouldn't be really, really long because someone decides to do it RX'd and then they're breaking up the muscle-ups into 3 or 4 sets every round to get through. I think for the most part, when you look at the higher level of complexity of a muscle-up, unless the reps start to get into double digits, you're really looking at athletes to get through in 1 to 2 sets. So I think you could go a lot of different ways in this workout. You could scale the muscle-ups all the way down. Maybe they just do a single one, that kind of stuff, and then all the different variations we went over. The other thing I think is really important in a workout like this is if you have somebody who's sort of on the cusp of developing a muscle-up and they're still using something like a pull-up or maybe even a ring muscle-up from the floor transition, what I think we sometimes lose sight of is we lean so hard into the intensity part of this. Hey, you need to, and intensity I mean by speed, not by loading or what we might look as difficulty of the movement. What we sometimes lean too far into is like, hey, you gotta get through these really, really fast so you can get back out in the run and do the burpees. Whereas I think if I have an athlete who's kind of on the cusp of a muscle up, I would take them in this workout, and this goes wrong a lot with the ring muscle up floor transition, is you have to make that transition hard enough. Keep the volume the same, 6 reps, but make the transition hard enough so they're likely going to break it up once. And my thought process behind this is like, hey, look, the muscle up is really freaking challenging. So if you're making that floor transition so easy that they are blazing through it, unbroken every round, I don't think we're really setting them up for success. We're not giving them a next step stepping stone to get to that muscle up. Same kind of idea is the pull-ups, or are the pull-ups. Now, we already did strict pull-ups this week, so I might be a little reluctant to scale somebody to like a strict pull-up or a strict chest to bar. Again, someone might come up and say, hey, I'm going to get 6 reps unbroken every single round, but I don't have ring muscle-ups. Well, then I might push them to a kipping chest to bar or a gymnastic kipping chest to bar if they have butterflies but not a muscle up, because I think it's a little bit harder, builds the grip in the lats a little bit better, or even a strict movement. And I might sacrifice a couple seconds off their speed. Why? Because in my mind, we're not doing muscle ups all the time. It's a hard movement to get better at. So when you have the opportunity to sort of grind toward the muscle up, focus in on those elements why somebody might not have one, you do really want to push that, I think. You want to challenge them in that way. Now, the other thing I was thinking about in a workout like this, the other third grab bag thing here, is doing a workout like this. There's a handful of athletes in our gym who have good muscle ups. Not a ton of them. And I think it's interesting, like there are certain things people in our gym are at, and this is one of the reasons I love the single modality workouts, the heavy days, the 30-minute weighted carry, is because, and I've talked about this before, it shifts up the leaderboard. You see some names toward the top of the leaderboard. There's a young lady, she's a police officer in the area, and her name's Marcy, and she freaking smashed the 30-minute weighted carry. Like, demolished the next closest athlete by like 100 or maybe even 200 meters. It was 100. But she absolutely crushed it. And I don't think I've ever seen her name, maybe once or twice, at the top of the RX leaderboard. And so that was so exciting to see, right? It's also really good because I think about this from the perspective of athletes who generally might always be at the top or do really well, and not have a lot of opportunity to get pushed or get beat in certain workouts. So the single modality workouts, because they can really highlight for somebody a single skill they might be great at, the single modality workouts are a great way to test and push those athletes, or even yourself if you're typically at the top of the leaderboard. I think that's a really important thing. For me, that's certainly something I love. Like, I'm not the strongest guy in our gym. Like, I probably would do really well on all the Olympic lifts, but we have some athletes who can just back squat, deadlift, bench press. I'll never be I will not say never. I want to be the strongest bencher at the gym. But I have a long way to go to be there. So it's really fun for me to have like these lofty goals and people to chase on these single modality days. And I think as a coach or athlete, it's good to look at those days, as opportunities to have your back put against the wall and have to dig a little bit more and fight really hard to win. And on top of that, one of the things I was thinking about today was I used to train a lot at Reebok CrossFit One when Reebok had the CrossFit gym at their world headquarters in Canton, Massachusetts. And then they moved up to Seaport in Boston. But I trained a lot with Denise Thomas, who's a colleague and friend of mine. And, Denise is very fit in her own right. She played professional soccer, football, where she's from. And she can smash some workouts. There were a fair amount of workouts she scaled, but whenever she would scale workouts, we would always be really competitive with each other. And some she would win, and some I would win. But it was a cool push, and it was a cool mindset for me to get in, because I think it's too easy to fall into the trap as an athlete. Maybe you're the athlete who wins a lot of the workouts in your gym. Or maybe you're a coach who has an athlete who says things like, I just don't have a lot of people to push me here. Now, I won't lie. When you have somebody who does the same exact workout as you, and you guys are neck and neck and you can push each other, there is so much value and fun in that. But one of the other things I think about with this isn't always the case. And maybe as a coach, you have somebody in the gym who is winning a lot of the workouts, or like there's a certain day where they're like, oh yeah, this one's a slam dunk for me. How do we, slam dunk even if they don't send it? How do we push them a little bit? How do we give them somebody to chase? And one of the things I think about, and I've always felt this way, is like, I don't like losing. I don't care if you scale. I don't care if you're brand new to the gym. I want to beat you. And in fact, one of the things I really have used to motivate and push myself, especially since I stepped away from like having a plan to compete and make it to the games, is when I do a workout, I want to beat everybody. I want to beat all the dudes who are X'd. I want to beat all the ladies who are X'd. I want to beat everyone who's scaled, guys and girls. And it's cool because typically what happens when you scale people in CrossFit, it's very easy to scale them. I don't think it's a bad thing. More toward intensity and speed. So a lot of times I can see the scaled athletes coming very close to finishing, and sometimes even quicker than like the stimulus time spread that we give the workout. But it's really good to get into the mindset of like, hey, I'm going to chase everybody. Or I see somebody scaling and they're whipping through a workout, and I'm going to chase that person down. Or maybe I'll see somebody, regardless of what version they're doing or what round they're on. I was finishing up the muscle-ups today, and I saw somebody finish their pull-ups before me, and they ran out the door, and I was kind of starting to drag ass. I was getting tired, hook ripping the shorts, frothy mouth, spitting buttermilk, staring at the floor, going to the chalk bucket for no good reason. And I told myself, hey, I got to go catch that person. And to me, it doesn't matter that we're doing slightly different workouts. It doesn't matter that we might have different strengths and weaknesses. What matters is I have somebody else in class with who is equally, having their own battle and struggle with the workout and the things they're good at and things they're not good at. I'm going through that same thing relative by degree for me. And so to be able to have somebody to chase like that is always really fun, and I find it really motivating. And as a coach, I think it can be really, really, really good thing to understand and identify the athletes who might need that. And flip side, you can do this for athletes who might not always be winning the workouts as well. Give them small little kind of signposts for victory in a workout. Maybe you see them catching up to somebody on a run or a movement, or even if they are scaling, it's like, hey, you finish those ring transitions before he or she finishes those pull-ups or muscle-ups. Just giving them those small pushes and really driving home this point of, yes, CrossFit is very much about being competitive with just yourself, but there is also a lot of value in being competitive with others, especially when it gives you motivation, helps you dig a little deeper. So I felt that a lot in spades in today's workout. I actually, one of my buddies I train with a lot, we were sharing rings. We don't have a ton of rings there. And we have, I think, 4 sets of high rings in the gym. And I told him, I was like, you're going to do your 12 burpees and 6 muscle-ups, and then I'm going to start, and I'm going to try and chase you. And it was good. We laughed about it. He might have hated it. But it allowed me to have like an epic push in the workout. And like I said, even though my running was abysmal, it was just a fun thing to try and do. And I hope it gave him a little motivation to move quicker too. Because he does. He's a really fit guy. Beats me on some workouts. I just knew that, muscle-ups was something I'm really good at. So anyway, just some things to think about. The coaching aspect, scaling, giving people motivation in workouts, programming a week of workouts, putting those together, and so hitting a little traffic here, kind of almost to where I need to be anyway, so don't have much more that I'm going to touch on, but I am really excited because on Tuesday, when I drive back into the gym to coach a couple days from now, we are doing the benchmark workout Kelly, which is 5 rounds for time. I think it's box jumps first. I don't remember. It's 400-meter run, and I think 30 box jumps, 30 wall ball, though the wall ball and box jump could be switched. I'd have to check. Anyway, it's one of my favorite CrossFit benchmark workouts because I feel like it, aside from actually doing a 5K, like it's the CrossFit mixed modality version of running a 5K. And it's always been a workout that I have not been great at, but have seen improvement on. Again, I think it's one of those workouts that can favor a certain type of athlete, but so you might just have these like standout scores in the gym. We'll talk about that more on Tuesday because I have a pretty cool memory of it from when I was training at Reebok CrossFit 1. Anyway, I'll save it for that. So, hope you all have a great weekend, and as always, appreciate you.